Yo, what's going on, guys? I wanted to go over my graphics settings with my new PC setup, as well as showcase what settings I'm using after the 1.0 patch and the several optimization improvements. The time has come where the game doesn't run like a potato any longer. Now, it still uses a lot of your CPU, and without a good CPU, you will suffer drops in FPS. Now, I recently upgraded my PC and I got an i7-7700K. I didn't overclock it yet, and I got a GTX 1070, and I did overclock that a little bit. Then I got another 8GB of memory, and now I'm at 16GB at 2400 MHz. The game, it runs amazing now for me. I can pretty much run all the settings on high or ultra if I want to, but I don't really want to because I want to get as much FPS as I can. So I'm going to go over what I run. Now, I play on 1080p, that's good enough for me. Anti-aliasing. Now, I run this on high. Now, it doesn't really hurt your FPS, and it definitely helps smooth out those edges. I find in this game that I want to eliminate as many of those moving edges and artifacts that I can, so I don't accidentally identify them as moving people. Now, this does soften up your image a bit, but I use reshade with a sharpening filter, and it brings it right back. Post-processing. This is mostly done on your GPU, and it adds things like ambient occlusion and depth of field, which I have noticed in recent patches. Some of the post-processing is now forced on us, and we can't really turn it off, such as the depth of field on the weapons. If you notice, they're out of focus when you zoom in, and there's no way to turn that off. Having this setting on low barely takes any FPS and makes the game look much more realistic and better in my opinion. It adds that slight little shadow detail around objects. Now the shadows. Although I run on very low, seem to have been changed, as now the shadows render as if they're on medium no matter what. Well, character models do anyway, so no point really going up and losing a ton of FPS. It just makes it harder to spot enemies as well, and it gives more object shadows. Very taxing on your GPU, so be careful turning this up. I don't recommend it. And now the textures. This is probably the most visually distinguishable video setting that you could apply, and I at least recommend medium, because it looks like Play-Doh otherwise. I try to run on high most of the time, unless I'm streaming. There's a very noticeable difference from very low to ultra, as you can see. And this does affect your FPS quite a bit, so medium is usually a safe bet if you have at least a decent GPU. Now effects. I run these on very low, and they're mostly the effect of explosions and bullets hitting and, all that cool stuff. I don't find these that important visually, and I don't want to lose FPS when there's like a bunch of explosions going off or I'm getting shot at, so I just leave this on very low. Now foliage. This is more of a preference, and it really doesn't do much but adds slight detail to the grass and the bushes, making them more realistic looking. There's not really a benefit of having this on very low anymore. And view distance. I run this on very low, as I don't really care about objects rendering further away and me losing FPS, but I do find it hard spotting a vehicle as I'm parachuting in, which I don't really do that often. But if that's your playstyle, it's completely up to you. But it does take some decent FPS the higher you go. But yeah, if you find it helpful, do it. And just know that character models will always render no matter the distance. So this concludes my settings that I run, and it's up to you if you want the game to look great or run great. It's your PC, it's PC, we have the option to do what your heart desires. This is just what I run with my setup, and it works for me and I get great FPS. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more. Peace.